Hey guys, this is Jay Calderon with Jay Unboxing here, giving you my personal prediction for Jermall Charlo versus Juan Macias Montiel. And remember, this is just my take. Yours can be left down in the comments. Would love to hear them all there. A little bit of fight info here. As mentioned, we have Charlo versus Montiel. Charlo, of course, is the possessor of the WBC middleweight title, which will be on the line in this fight. Of course, taking place on Saturday in Houston, Texas, at the Toyota Center, airing live on SHOWTIME. More or less, we are looking at a weekend of tune-up fights for the bigger names, at least in terms of the main events you might watch. And this, Charlo versus Montiel matchup is no exception. Montiel is tough, has a decent left hand. That's about it. In virtually every other major category, Charlo is the clear and away favorite. Still, a prediction we must make, so let's get into it. Starting out with Montiel here, I think he needs to fight Charlo's speed with his timing. Montiel isn't going to use electric hand speed to get to the target before Charlo, or anyone else really for that matter. He's a little slow-fisted. He isn't a quick-handed fighter. But timing can help offset speed if implemented well. If Charlo is throwing jabs or the straight right too consistently at the same pace, which Charlo can do at times, Montiel needs to find that pace and time it out to allow for his heavier shots to hopefully turn the fight in his direction. I would also suggest that the left uppercut might land, but be careful. The best single punch Montiel has at his disposal is probably his left uppercut, in my opinion. It's natural for him, and it comes out at a very decent rate with decent snap to it. It's a shot that doesn't look like he had to be taught. He kind of had it in him. However, it's always risky throwing an uppercut when your opponent has some decent pop and faster hands than you. You're just so wide open on that side, whatever side you happen to throw. That's why Montiel will need to pick and choose where he uses that uppercut. And more importantly, he'll need to step to the side with it a little bit, throw it after a blinding shot, use ways to effectively get him to think one thing, then use the uppercut as that other thing, so to speak. Use that shot with intelligence. Finally, your hands must be up. Montiel in almost any category you can bring up comes in second place to Charlo. As a result, Montiel has to be responsible defensively if he wants to give himself a chance. He tends to fight with his hands down lower than they should be and a little too laxed in there. If he's to have a real shot at winning, he'll need to keep his hands up, move away from Charlo's power, and move in far less straight lines than he tends to do. And of course, can he change from one fight to the next and implement this? That'll be, kind of something remains to be seen until fight night, but it's what he's going to need to do if he's going to give himself a real shot. Now, for Charlo to win, he needs to keep the jab consistent. Charlo has a very solid jab, and he uses it pretty well. Keeping it consistent will be key in this fight, like in many others. This will help you push Montiel back. It will help open up the door for the other punches you're looking to land, and it will soften up his man down the stretch. However, just be mindful that you can switch up the speed on it and the power on it, as well as double it up at times and throw your foe off a little bit. Just making it so predictable makes it a read, and at that point, it's not going to work to your advantage. So you need to make sure that you make it as difficult to read as possible. I would also say vary the speed and power of your other shots as well. In general, varying the speed and power of his shots will do Charlo quite a bit of good in this fight overall. He does sometimes have a tendency to put too much into every single shot. Every shot is trying to swing for the fences. This tires you out more, and it also makes you more predictable. Instead, take some power off, but add to your speed. Just touch him with some other shots. This way, when you do throw those bombs, they're way more effective and more likely to have an impact on the overall fight's outcome. And finally, I would say back your man up into the ropes. One thing you'll notice is that Montiel gets very negative and defensive and in a defensive shell when he is pushed back. He doesn't have much of an effectiveness at all. So naturally, it's going to benefit Charlo to push Montiel back and keep him there, which is what he's going to want to do anyway. It's his natural proclivity. Push him up against those ropes or in the corner and keep him pressed there in those moments where Montiel will be forced to exchange. The speed and power advantages that Charlo possesses will help him win this fight. And honestly, in terms of my pick here, there's no surprises. I'd love to pick an underdog, but that just isn't going to be the move here. Charlo will likely dominate this fight here and end it pretty much when he decides. He could make this a 12-round stinker of sorts if he wants to and just go about getting some rounds in or, not taking any chances as he looks to make those bigger fights. However, I think he is a little more ambitious than that, and as a result, my guess is Charlo takes a round or two to loosen up and read his man, and once he gets that read, he'll use straight right hands to bust up and ultimately stop Montiel in the middle frames of a mostly one-sided affair. Charlo mid-fight stoppage. And of course, the betting odds do seem to suggest this as well. You have Charlo at a minus 3,500 in terms of the favorite position. You have Montiel at a plus 1,200. Again, it's a pretty big gap. A lot of these fights this weekend just happen to be this way. It just kind of is what it is. Yeah, not much of a laydown in terms of money here. You could possibly find an over-under that favors, a Charlo earlier mid-fight stoppage. If you can find something around the 7th, 8th round, that'd be possible to do. Maybe you could even buy a round or two, but for the most part, there's not a lot of great smart money in this fight. If you like taking a, long shot, by all means, Montiel's your man, but I'm just not necessarily going to be doing that anytime soon. In any event, my prediction record going into the weekend is 16-6-2 with 7 exact. Let me know what you guys have been running, though. What's your predictions been like recently? Any bets you got going on, so on and so forth. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow at jcalderon_JOB. And you can email me at junboxing@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you there as well. Also, be sure to check out junboxing.com for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, so much more. And as always, until next time.